Hello, it's Dosha with 285 DIY, Elevate Your Home Improvement Game. I'm the owner of Handyman Connection, and I'm here today with another episode on a DIY project, and today we're going to talk about kitchen faucets. Upgrading your kitchen faucet is an affordable way to improve the convenience and functionality of your kitchen. And depending on the number of holes and the style of your kitchen sink, the process will vary, but still will be fairly easy. So I'm going to give you a step-by-step instruction guide on how to install a single handle kitchen faucet. You'll need a couple of tools. You'll need an adjustable wrench. That'll help you in the underneath. You might need a pillow to help because you'll be laying on your back a lot. You'll also need a shallow pan and a couple of old towels to help. And then as far as materials go, you'll need Teflon tape. So gather your materials and let's get ready. So you want to clean out your sink and get everything out from under the sink so that you'll have access to the area. If there's an electrical outlet beneath your sink, turn the power off before you remove your old faucet. Before installing a new kitchen faucet, be sure to go underneath your kitchen sink and check how many holes your existing sink uses. While a one-hole faucet can work in a two-hole sink, the same won't be true for a two or a three-hole faucet in a one-hole sink. And like I said, since much of the job will be done on your back, a pillow might make it easier to bear the work. Having a flashlight handy would also be helpful, along with a shallow pan, a couple of old towels to catch any standing water, and you should always wear safety glasses to protect your eyes from falling debris. So now that we're prepped, the next thing we need to do is shut off the water, because you definitely don't want water spraying as you do this. So reach in underneath the cabinet and shut off the hot and cold water supply valves by turning them clockwise. If you don't have stop valves already installed, you'll need to turn the water off to the entire house. If you have difficulty, try using a rag or a pair of pliers to improve your grip. With the water turned off, open up the faucet handles to release any pressure in the lines. So now we're going to disconnect the water supply lines. To remove the old faucet, you'll first need to go under the sink and disconnect the supply lines that run from the faucet down to the hot and cold valves. Each supply line is connected to the corresponding valve with a threaded nut. You want to use your adjustable wrench to remove the nut by turning it counterclockwise. As you do, make sure you stabilize the water pipe while you loosen the supply lines to prevent compromising the connections behind the cabinets. Once you've disconnected the water supply line on one side, repeat the process for the other side. If the valve drips, even though the handle to the shutoff valve is completely turned off, it means that you have faulty shutoff valves and you'll need to turn the water off to the entire house in order to continue replacing. So now you want to remove the faucet connections. You'll need to take out the old supply line connections to your faucet before you can remove it. So if you have a two-handle center set faucet, the two water supply lines are connected directly to the hot and cold valves. Because the mounting nuts securing the faucet are installed first, you'll need to unscrew the supply line connections before you can remove them. If you have a single handle faucet, all of the water connections will be part of the spout assembly since there are no hot or cold handles. On faucets like this, where the supply lines are built in, any mounting hardware is made to slide directly over the lines. One of the difficulties you can find in taking out the old faucet is reaching up into such a tight space and then gaining enough leverage to remove the connections. This is where a basin wrench would come in handy. A basin wrench contains a ratcheting head with teeth designed to grip hard to reach retaining nuts behind the sink. And the handle also pivots 90 degrees, allowing you to turn it from below. You can also look for a model 2006 faucet and sink installer that is a multi-purpose tool designed for several under the sink applications. After unscrewing those nuts connecting the supply line to the hot and cold valves, use that basin wrench to take off the nut connecting the diverter to the sprayer hose. And if you're positive you won't be using the old faucet again, you could cut the line with a pipe or tubing cutter. Once you've disconnected all the water lines under the sink, you're ready to remove the mounting hardware. So how do you remove the mounting hardware for the old faucet? I have a tip for you. If any of the nuts or mounting hardware are rusted or difficult to remove, you can apply a penetrating oil like PB Blaster to loosen it. You do need to give it time to soak in, and you may need to have more than one application. So the old faucet is going to be connected to the underside of the cabinet by some type of mounting hardware. A single handle kitchen faucet will typically have mounting hardware connected to a single shank that contains the hot and water supply lines. For a two-handle center set faucet, the mounts will usually be found on the hot and cold valve bodies, and you'll need to remove all the mounting hardware in order to remove the faucet. With the mounting hardware removed, the faucet should lift up. You may need to apply pressure to break any caulk seal that was applied. When you're finished, clean the area completely around the sink with an approved cleaner for your countertops before installing the new faucet. Now we're ready to go start installing the new faucet. For this project, as we mentioned, we're installing a single handle center set faucet with an elution plate. The hot and cold supply lines are built directly into the faucet, and it also has a diverter which can connect to a side sprayer. Refer to your manufacturer's instructions for the proper assembly of the faucet from the box. While doing a one-hole installation, you will not use the ascension plate. There should be separate components supplied with your faucet if you're planning to use this configuration. But if you have a three-hole installation, the extrusion plate is needed to cover up the two outside holes. It should have a gasket to seal the gap between the extrusion and the countertop. A single handle faucet has hot and cold valves that are part of the spout assembly. In many cases, it will have a flexible supply line built in as well. Some faucet types have state-of-the-art supply lines called PEX tubing already installed as part of the hot and cold valves on the faucet. On other faucets, the hot and cold valves have a threaded your own flexible supply lines. This is typically a 1/2 inch male connection coming out of the faucet. And make sure you use that Teflon tape that we got on the threads before installing. For a single handle faucet, the built-in supply lines will come labeled as hot and cold, and you'll need to connect these to the corresponding water supply valves. Now we're off to anchor the hot and cold valves. For those single handle faucets, the mounting hardware usually connects to the shank below the deck. This unit has a washer that goes against the countertop and a mounting nut with 3 mounting screws that tighten up against it. Some other faucets may have different mounting hardware, and some manufacturers may have additional hardware for thinner decks. Place the gasket onto the underside of the extrusion plate and slide it over the supply lines and onto the shank of the faucet, positioning it on the mounting surface. The extrusion plate should cover the first and third holes. Under the sink, you're going to want to screw the nut all the way up until it's a 1/2 inch below the surface, and then tighten down the mounting screws evenly until the faucet assembly is tight against the underside of your cabinet. Before tightening everything down completely, have someone help make sure that the faucet is lined up properly behind the sink. Now we're ready to connect our water and flush lines. Connect each of the supply lines to the corresponding water supply valve. This is typically a 3/8 inch fitting in most homes. Wrap the threads of each valve with a strip of Teflon tape, again wrapping it clockwise around the threads. Screw on each nut by hand and tighten it down with an adjustable wrench. As you do, make sure you secure the pipe for the water supply valve running into the wall so you don't damage any connections. With the water supply lines connected, turn the water back on at the hot and cold valves or at your house. Test out the operation of the faucet and the sprayer, and then carefully check to make sure that there are no leaks. If you do detect a slight leak, use a wrench to tighten the connection until the leak stops, but do not over tighten. Once you've installed your new faucet, it's a good idea to flush it out to remove any debris that may have accumulated. To do this, you want to unscrew the aerator from the shaft of the faucet. There may be a tool for this that comes with your faucet, or you may be able to do it by hand. With the aerator removed, turn the handle on full blast and let it run for about a minute. Then shut off the water and replace the aerator. So a couple of tips for installing your new kitchen faucet. The number and placement of holes in your countertop or drop-in sink will determine the type of faucet you can put in. You may have anywhere from 1 to 4 holes. The 4th hole is typically used for a sprayer or a soap dispenser. The distance between the holes is called the spread, and you can determine your spread by measuring between the centers of the 3 main holes. An 8-inch spread on center is your most common and is necessary to fit the most center set faucets. A center set faucet is any one where the handles and the spout are all part of one single unit. A 2-handle center set has a separate hot and cold handle that are connected to the base, and we did not discuss how to install one of these. Another option is a wide spread faucet where the handles in the faucet are separate from individual units, and these can be installed with any type of spread. When you're thinking of changing out your kitchen faucet, consider if you want different features such as a pull-down kitchen faucet, which can help with cleaning both the sink as well as dishes. And if you need help with the installation because you've gotten in over your head, call Handyman Connection at 303-968-1112. When learning how to install this single handle kitchen faucet, remember that we're here every step of the way. We would love to help you with this and other home improvement projects. And if you've got a project that you'd like us to discuss on our podcast, please send your request to 285diy@gmail.com. This is Dosha Boylan with Handyman Connection and 285 DIY. Elevate your home improvement game.